So our main topic today is I don't know, is this an African-American conversation or a black conversation?
You've been on your AA thing today. Go ahead, let's see.
We're going to talk about weaponizing wokeness. This has been something that
AA.
I've been... Is it AA?
Yeah, this is AA.
But wokeness is black.
No.
You don't think so?
You try your best to direct the narrative how you want it so you can be black. You African American.
I'm all of it. I'm all the things. I'm gonna be all the things. I'm all of it. All right.
Well, let's see.
Yeah,
is
let's
this
see.
one piece or two?
What'd you say?
Is this one piece?
It's all of the things.
No, is it one piece or two?
Look, shoulder puff.
Okay.
It's all the things. All right. So we are talking about weaponizing wokeness. I'm a big person on narrative. Narrative is like my thing. It's the thing that drives me in media. It's the thing that has always made sort of me passionate about the things that I am, because I believe in the importance of narrative and how powerful it is. And what drives me nuts right now about the current discourse is the narrative around what it is to quote unquote be woke has been hijacked by everybody. Everybody. So we have allowed everybody to make woke mean something different, right? And so you got M&M's changing with the boots, and now they can't. You got all kinds of stuff, and that's just really one example. That's one example that came to my head. I'm sure I could think of a ton.
No, being vegan is woke. Denouncing Jesus is woke.
Super woke.
Hating a man is woke.
Super woke.
I mean, you can name a million things that make you woke. And once you get all of those things involved, and you dilute the actual flavor of wokeness.
Of course. And
it's
so
too much stuff in here.
And so now we have, and Kurt, you and I have talked about this before. We've added so much stuff to the woke pot, right? And then it's been weaponized against us because nothing means anything anymore.
Nothing.
None of these terms mean anything. And my frustration is that it has made it more challenging for the actual people who were actually having the conversations that actually matter to be heard in a meaningful way. And it is at its core a pushback against anti-blackness. And the thing about it is everything you just talked about, the vegan community, the anti-man community, the
hair community. It's just everybody is a different version of woke.
They are not necessarily fighting the fight against the weaponization of wokeness now. So now that people, there's literally an anti-woke campaign. It's called, in some places they call it culture wars. Like if you've ever heard that term, that's a thing now, culture wars, right? And so it makes me so angry because the group, the people, the causes that were at the root of what it was to be woke when it came out and was a thing, those are black people. Those are black issues. Those are black conversations. That is an impact on black folk. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yet again, here we are. The sauce has been diluted and we've gotten pushed to the bottom.
Yeah, well, when you taste it, you're like, what is this? I don't even know what this is.
Yeah.
That's woke.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
But whose fault is that? Is it, because it's easy to say like, oh, right-wing media has hijacked this notion of wokeness, and it doesn't mean that. But do we as a community bear some level of responsibility for allowing this to happen?
So I don't think it's really anybody's fault. And I think that a lot of times, and I probably will bring this up a million times while we sit here on the sofa, because it's something that I've had to remind people of late. So social media, which is something that we all use and we all take part in, is something that people will not accept as an experiment. And we are actually in the experiment. It is new. It's new. So all of these things that are happening right now, they're all hypotheses. And there's no actual stayed thing that we know is going to happen at the end of social media, because we are a part of the experiment. And I didn't get on social media until 2009.
Same. I was 2008.
Which is a very new thing. So we don't know what the results of all of this information that we've been able to instantly exchange amongst each other is gonna birth. But we accepted, like you saying, whose fault is it? It's really no one's fault. But before, I probably would only know your version of woke because I talk to you on the phone or because I see you. But now I get to see everyone's version of woke, and it creates confusion. It's honestly like babble. When people insert religion
It
into
is.
things, they cease to talk about things like social media is babble. It's all it is.
And that's you're exactly right, because there's for those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Family Guy fan, and there's like a very, very, I actually use this as part of my D&I training. Like when I go train, I use this clip. There's a clip where one of the characters makes a joke on Twitter that people deem to be offensive. And so he goes to make an apology, a public apology. So it's a group of people, and so he is standing outside his house and he says, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen." And then somebody yells out, "Ladies? Why'd you put ladies first? That's patriarchy." And then so he says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies. I identify as basketball." And somebody's like, he's like, "Ladies, gentlemen, and basketball. So I'm a parent." Like, and so, to the point of babble, that's actually a very valid consideration, because I've literally seen it. And in terms of social media, Twitter is the worst with it, because it goes back and forth about, well, you can't say that because that's not how these people describe so and so. Like, I've seen discussions about, for example, the use of the term Latinx. Most of the people who I know who identify as Latino don't use Latinx. No. Right? Like, it's not a term that they use. I understand the term. I'm very clear on the notion of gender neutrality, but that's not even a term that they use, let alone to get preoccupied with it. Similarly speaking, we're not supposed to say homeless anymore. We're supposed to say housing insecurity. Do you think that a homeless person is worried about how you describe them when you're trying to advocate for them or potentially support getting them in a home?
These are the times that I use being Southern as a crutch, which is a lie, because you know that I know all of these things. But I use being Southern as a crutch during these times. Like, I was raised by people who said stuff like Oriental. Well, my grandparents. And I think all about, we know this. So for me, I just act ignorant. Like, I didn't know we were doing that. Because it's just way too much.
Can't do that shit no more. You just gave away the secret.
Oh, it's fine. I'm still going to do it.
Kurt.
Still got that Oriental rug? I don't know, man.
I don't call people Oriental. No, wait a minute.
He said rug.
I said rug, not a person.
I said my grandparents did that.
No, but
I'm
saying for me, I strictly stick
do you still
to
have Granny's
like
Oriental rug?
I'm not gonna get into trying to like figure all of the other things out. It's very difficult.
It is.
So I'm good with they and them. But
the war on wokeness, Kurt, do you see it as something that's anti-black, or do you see it as like, yo, we brought this on ourselves?
I see it as the way I see everything else, man. Again, go back to our analogy. We left it on the porch, and people came, signed it out, and never returned it.
So you're talking about the narrative around culture?
I'm talking about everything and all things black. It's black for 10 minutes, and then somebody comes and snatch it, and it's over.
It's co-opted.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then we spend the next year trying to come up with something else dope. We do, and then we lose it again.
Is there any way now that we have got to the space where that's happened, right? The idea of wokeness and where we are with that and how that works has been co-opted. That train has left the station. Is there a way that we somehow can reverse that trend and push our voices, our issues, our communities, talking points back to the front? Or is that just, we got to come up with a new system?
To the front of where?
To the front of the conversation.
With whom?
Who's having the conversation?
With majority culture.
Oh, no.
So do you think majority culture is going to care?
I think that's the problem from the beginning. Why are we trying to have a conversation with majority culture that we haven't even had amongst ourselves? What are we talking about?
Right.
Well, okay, so let's say amongst ourselves. Because even the conversation about wokeness among ourselves has been, the priorities have shifted. They've shuffled in terms of what we're talking about. And I'm not saying that we as a community can't discuss multiple things or address multiple things at one time. So that is not to say that we can't, on one hand, have a conversation about cooperative economics, and then on another conversation, have a discussion about internal community policing of our own, and then also talk about securing queer and trans lives at the same time, but that's not what be happening. So then even among ourselves, right? The woke conversation, you brought it up earlier. Hating black men is on some levels like a woke thing. People will deny it, but if you look in practice, what we see internally in community suggests otherwise. So I guess my thing is still, how do we de-weaponize wokeness so that we're not using it against ourselves? Because at some point, the whole shit is unproductive. Because to the Babel conversation, we're not solving anything. We're just spinning our wheels and going back and forth. So then how do you sort of de-weaponize the notion of what it is to be woke to get some of those things out of the pot so that we can focus on what's most important?
It's a good question. I don't think it's possible.
You don't think it's possible?
Yeah,
You think
I don't think so either.
we got to just come up with a new dish.
Yeah, once you mix it all together, you can't pull the salt
Yeah, you
out,
can't,
pull
yeah.
the thing out, and then now it's like
The roux is
This
already
thing is
ruined.
already
You just got to start
done.
all over again. It's
that part is
ruined.
already done. But also,
Yeah.
I just think that, to be honest, just the direction of the world. Sometimes I think that we get so caught up in redirecting the ship that we don't recognize that, like, civilization is civilization, and it's gonna move how it's gonna move. We are as a culture, we are narcissistic. Like, we really,
Whose culture?
Black people.
Oh, so now we having a black conversation.
Back to black.
Okay.
I've only been black on this, so for this area over here, we segregated today. Y'all been African American. I've been black all the time.
No. The conversation is a black
But
conversation.
what I don't think is that we ever look at ourselves as a part of civilization, right? Civilization as a whole. And where we are and what has happened to us specifically. Like, if you look at Mesopotamia, Samaria, and cultures and civilizations who have moved how we are moving.
Antiquity?
It just, sometimes it don't last. Sometimes we here for a good time, not a long time. Sometimes it's just gonna go the way it's gonna go, and there's really nothing that you can do to like stop it.
So has the age of the Negro in your mind passed?
I'm still here, and we're still present, and of course we're gonna still try to do what we can to scratch and survive and get where we need to go, and even thrive in some sense. But I think to continue to say, let's get these conversations here, let's put these in front of people, let's talk about this. I don't really think that's really progressive at all.
I think where your conversation is going, and Kurt, where you have suggested, it leads me to believe that this is all the more reason to sort all this mess out, because this whole situation currently is so messy, is that we have to, and I start talking to people about this, and this is where things connect. If you follow the podcast, if you follow the people on the podcast, if you follow these conversations, where we have to shift our focus is the age of the new Negro. The new Negro. Because where we have been before is a space that has been convoluted, taken, mixed. Okay, cool. We had that experiment. We seen what worked at different points, and we saw what didn't. And so now we have an opportunity to do something different. You have to believe in the Negro in order to be a part of the age of the new Negro. And in terms of defining it, part of what is required is that we draw on the lessons from yesterday, and we don't allow the same simple shit to derail us tomorrow. Because to your point, Hilary, I do believe we are still here. We are still thriving. We are still capable. We still have the aptitude. So if that's the case, and we have the benefit of the lessons from the past, we have an opportunity to do something better in the future. So that's going to do it for today's conversation.